Hello my loves, I'm Ellie Frost, and on this channel we're talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And what I want to talk about today is the question of, will the narcissist change? When we're in love with a narcissist, or they're a close family member or friend, this is the question that we tend to dwell on, and we hope that they will. I have to tell you, generally that's going to be a false hope, right? Narcissists aren't interested in personal development and growth. They're not interested in taking accountability and responsibility for their actions. What they're interested in is manipulating you, is molding you into what they want you to be rather than who you really are. They are likely to want you to change, to adapt to them, rather than change themselves. I've made a video on the shared fantasy with the narcissist, right, that you can find. But that's basically the idea that the fantasy is the person they projected themselves to be in the love bombing and idealization stages, right? So they pretend to be someone they're not, someone that they know intuitively that you want them to be. And they will sort of future fake. So they might pretend that they'll change and that they're willing to and they're committed to. And they'll also occasionally re-love bomb you with the shared fantasy. They know how to behave when they want to, because they know how to manipulate you. They know how to love bomb you. And remember, in what in what I teach, love bombing doesn't have to be a big gesture, right? Some people think they're not being love bombed because the narcissist isn't doing some kind of grand gift giving or something. That's not just what love bombing is. Love bombing is any time they project an illusion to you of who you want them to be, to manipulate you, right? That's love bombing you. They're love bombing you. They know what you want and need from them. They're putting it on, but they're not going to sustain it in the long term. In fact, they're going to go back to the majority of the relationship being devaluing you, right? So the narcissists also, like, they might pretend to want to change. They are renowned. So I've got a bit of a froggy throat today. Throat chakra opening. They might pretend to want to go to therapy, for example. A lot of people want to take the narcissist to therapy. The narcissist gets off on manipulating the therapist. You will often find, if you go to therapy with a narcissist, right, that they will be the victim, because the narcissist is always the victim or the hero in the story. They're never the villain, right? They will not take accountability and responsibility for their actions, even if they pretend to. They might apologize just to get you back, right, with them, but they won't actually change. Right, which is so frustrating. You might be pulling your hair out, telling them the same thing over and over and over again. I know I was, and they might seemingly say yes, what you want to hear, right, just to manipulate you and get you back in the cycle. So they kind of get off on being able to manipulate therapists. And what they tend to do is get ammunition so they can be better at what they do. Narcissists is interested in becoming a better narcissist, so much more than becoming a better human being, right? They actually like to find out ways that they can manipulate you better. And they love that in therapy, right? They get better at what they do. I knew a narcissist, and he was going to therapy, and he used to have all these women, and he was manipulating them and exploiting them, really. And he went to therapy, and I said, do you tell your therapist about these women? And he said, oh no, don't tell him that. He wasn't interested in personal development and growth. He was interested in basically the therapist stroking his ego, telling him how wonderful he was, and, not telling him the unhealthy things that he was doing. He didn't want to change those things, right? He just went to therapy to say that he went to therapy, and that he was so he could project to the outside that he was someone who was interested in growing, but he actually wasn't, because he wasn't telling the truth. He wasn't telling the whole picture. He wasn't, discussing the way he was treating these women, because he wanted to continue to do it. He didn't want the therapist's opinion, and he wanted to get better at being able to manipulate them. So he really liked learning about how he could get better at what he did, right? So it's a false hope. Yeah, will the narcissist change? Very unlikely, right? They're so detached. They're going to have a huge awakening in order to do that. And I know there are some people on YouTube, narcissists, who have had that awakening, but it's extremely rare. It's extremely rare. And I wouldn't recommend you stay in the relationship with the false hope. Deal with the reality of the relationship now, not what's being projected to you, not some shared fantasy of the future, not the shared fantasy of the narcissist sustaining the fake person they're pretending to be to you. Deal with the reality now. Is this a good relationship for you now? Are you loved? Are you feeling supported? Are you feeling validated? Are you feeling happy, right? You've got to deal with the here and now, not the shared fantasy of the future. Lots of love, guys. Please keep liking, subscribing and sharing, and I'll speak to you soon.